Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the journey of internet sensation IShowSpeed. We've got some pretty interesting stuff to unpack, including a really insightful interview.
You know, what's really fascinating is just how quickly his life changed. I mean, we're talking about a young man who went from streaming to a handful of viewers to becoming a multimillionaire.
And it all happened incredibly fast. We'll get into the timeline of it all, but it really is a story of a meteoric rise.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to talk about the numbers here.
Right.
We'll also be exploring his family life, how he handles money, and what his story tells us about success in the digital world. But let's start at the very beginning with those early streaming days. What's so crazy to me is that it started with just one single viewer.
Yeah. One viewer. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about how big he is now. It really speaks to his persistence. I mean, can you imagine the dedication it takes to stream day after day with just one person watching?
I mean, I think it's safe to say most people would give up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Totally. But he stuck with it. I mean, he even streamed consistently throughout his sophomore year of high school, putting everything he had into building his channel. And slowly but surely, that viewership began to climb.
It's an awesome story of consistency and hard work, really. And it wasn't just the persistence, right? He had a unique style and energy that really resonated with people. But not everyone was immediately on board with his ambitions in streaming. His mom in particular had some reservations.
She represents a pretty common experience, I think, especially among parents today, right? Understanding the world of online content creation. You know, she was concerned about the negative comments, all the potential pitfalls of internet fame, which, is understandable from a parent's
I
perspective.
feel like that makes total sense.
And she even gave him an ultimatum. She told him to quit streaming or leave the house.
Wow. I mean, that must have been a really tough decision for him. It really puts a spotlight on that generational divide and how parents sometimes struggle to grasp those opportunities, those complexities of the digital world.
Yeah, absolutely. And in IshowSpeed's case, he made the difficult choice to follow his passion. He moved in with his father in Detroit to pursue streaming full-time.
A pretty bold move for a teenager. I mean, it really shows just how committed he was, how much he believed in himself and what he was doing. And it's interesting that his mother eventually did come around, right? She began to understand and accept his career choice.
It often takes time, I think, for perceptions to change, especially when it comes to these unconventional career paths. But, in the end, IshowSpeed's success ultimately spoke for itself. And that brings us to an incredibly interesting point. Shortly before his 17th birthday, he became a millionaire.
A millionaire at 16. I mean, that's just life-changing for anyone, let alone a teenager. It's so easy to picture someone that age just getting caught up in the excitement of it all and making some impulsive decisions. But that's not what happened, right?
Not at all. Surprisingly, his first big purchase wasn't a flashy car or some fancy jewelry. He actually bought a house for his mother.
That's amazing. I mean, it says a lot about his character, about what he really values. Even at such a young age, he recognized the importance of taking care of his family and showing his gratitude for their support.
It's a really heartwarming story. He did later buy himself a Lamborghini and another car, but he even has this story about a $50,000 chain that he bought that he just never wears. He considers it a waste now. It seems like his relationship with money, it's been, evolving.
It's like he was trying to figure out what wealth actually meant to him, experimenting a little with material possessions before realizing that real satisfaction comes from something deeper.
That's a great point. And it does seem like his focus has really shifted more towards using his money to help other people. He even talks about carrying cash specifically to give to those in need.
There's a real sense of responsibility there, a desire to use his platform and his success to make a real difference in the world, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. But I'm curious, how does he balance that generosity with also being responsible with his money? I imagine that can be a challenge.
Absolutely. And he actually mentions that his team advises him to save and invest, but he also feels that strong urge to help those around him. It's a classic struggle, balancing that heart's desire to give with also being smart about planning for the future.
And he's not just writing checks, right? He's actually out there engaging with people face to face. He's got a great story about helping a man in Michigan who was struggling to feed his daughter. Like, he's taking action and actually making a difference in individual people's lives.
Yeah. That story really stuck with me, too. It just shows a level of compassion that's really incredible, especially for someone his age. It really makes you wonder, what does this tell us about IshowSpeed as a person?
It definitely tells us that he's not just focused on fame and fortune. There's a genuine desire to connect with people, to use his influence for good. And all of this, it happened really quickly. I mean, we can't forget that turning point in his journey, becoming a millionaire at just 16.
It's hard to even imagine, right? The whirlwind of emotions and challenges that come with that level of success at such a young age. All the pressure, the temptations, the sudden change in lifestyle.
Can't be a lot to process.
For sure. And from everything we've learned about him, he seems to be handling it all with a surprising amount of maturity and self-awareness. I mean, it would have been so easy to get caught up in excessive spending or lose sight of his values, but he didn't.
He really seems to be grounded.
He does. And, his decision to buy that house for his mom, it really speaks volumes. It's like he understands that true wealth, it goes beyond just material things. It's about building a foundation of security and well-being, for himself and the people he cares about.
It's a perspective we could all learn from, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about needing more, buying more,
Yeah.
IShowSpeed's story really reminds us that true fulfillment often comes from using what we have to help others and make a positive impact.
It's not just about what you acquire, but what you give back. And that theme of generosity, it seems to run through his whole story. He talks about carrying that cash specifically to help those in need, and that story about the man in Michigan. It really highlights his dedication to making a difference in everyday people's lives.
It's a great reminder that even those small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect, especially coming from someone with a big platform like IShowSpeed. But I am curious, what do you think his evolving relationship with money tells us about his personal growth?
It definitely suggests that he's doing some self-reflection, that he's willing to learn and adapt as he goes. He admits to making mistakes, like buying that expensive chain he never wears. He's actively trying to figure out what really matters to him and how he can use his wealth in a way that aligns with his values.
That's a journey we all go on. It's not unique to people with lots of money. We're constantly getting messages about what we should want, how we should spend our money. I think IShowSpeed's story encourages us to be more mindful, to really think about what brings us joy and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And for him, it seems like that fulfillment comes from connecting with people, helping those in need, and spreading positivity with his platform. It's a powerful message, especially for his younger audience. He's showing them that success isn't just about personal gain. It's about using your influence to make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, it's a powerful message for all of us. And now I think it's time to switch gears a little bit and talk about his passion for streaming itself.
Right. Even with all the fame and fortune, you can tell he's still so dedicated to what he does. He wants to perfect it, as he says.
It's not just about the money or the views. You can just feel his genuine love for the streaming community and his belief that it has a bright future.
For him, streaming is more than just entertainment. It's a way to connect with people, to share who he is, and build a real community. And his audience really responds to that.
They do. It's that authenticity that really shines through in his content. He's not trying to be someone he's not. He's being himself. People connect with that. And, we can't forget about those early challenges he faced, especially the pushback from his mom.
Right. It's a reminder that those unconventional dreams, they're not always met with open arms. There can be skepticism, even opposition, from those closest to us. And it really highlights how important open communication and understanding are, especially within families.
It also shows IShowSpeed's determination, his willingness to stand up for what he believed in. He had this vision, this belief in himself, even when other people doubted him.
And that's crucial, I think, for success in any field, right? Having that courage to pursue your dreams, even when faced with obstacles and people who tell you it can't be done.
And what I find so great is that his mom eventually came around to embrace his success. It just goes to show that sometimes seeing really is believing. She needed to witness his dedication and the positive results before she could truly understand and accept his path.
It reminds us that perspectives can change, that even the most skeptical hearts can be won over by genuine passion and hard work.
I love that. And that brings us back to a question at the heart of it all, right? What does IShowSpeed's story really teach us about success in the digital world today? What stands out to you as the most important takeaway?
I think for me, it's that reminder that success, it's not just one thing. It's not just about money or fame. It's about staying true to who you are, pursuing those things you're passionate about, and using whatever platform you have to make a positive impact.
It's about finding that balance between personal fulfillment and giving back, using your influence for good. And that's something we can all take away from this, regardless of our age or what we do for a living.
Definitely. IShowSpeed's story is a testament to the power of being yourself, putting in the work, and embracing those opportunities and challenges that come with this digital age.
It's a story that really speaks to the human experience, right? all the ups and downs we all face on our own path to success. And while we've covered a lot of ground today, we've only just scratched the surface.
We've touched on his early days, that meteoric rise, his relationship with money and giving back, but there are still layers to unpack, insights to glean, different perspectives to consider.
And that's exactly what we're going to delve into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore his content, his relationship with his fans, and that impact he's had on the world of streaming. So stick with us, because we're going to be uncovering a whole lot more in the incredible journey of IShowSpeed.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, as we keep going through IShowSpeed's story, I think it's worth taking a moment to really dig into his relationship with his family. It's a thread that keeps coming up, and it really tells us a lot about his journey.
Yeah, you're right. We talked a bit about his mom's initial resistance to his streaming career and how she eventually came around, but I think there's definitely more to unpack there.
Absolutely. It really shows that disconnect that happens sometimes between generations, especially when it comes to new forms of media and these unconventional career paths. Parents, particularly those from older generations, I think they often have a harder time understanding the world of online content creation and the potential that it holds.
I mean, in IShowSpeed's mom's case, her concerns definitely came from a place of love and protection, right? She was worried about the negative side of the internet, the cyberbullying, the pressure of having your life so public. It's a totally natural instinct for a parent to want to protect their child.
Of course. And we got to remember, he was still a teenager when he started streaming.
Mhm.
So he was dealing with all the typical stuff that comes with being a teenager while building this career in a field that's constantly changing and evolving. That's a lot to handle for anyone, let alone a young person who's still figuring out their place in the world.
And to have your own mother basically say, look, you either quit this streaming thing or you leave. I mean, that's got to be tough.
It's a huge decision.
It really shows the depth of his passion, how much he believed that he was doing, that he chose to pursue that dream, even when facing that kind of opposition.
It shows a real commitment to his path. And yeah, while his mom's initial reaction might seem a little harsh, I think it also highlights just how important communication and understanding are, particularly within families.
It's so true. Sometimes it takes time for people's perspectives to change, to really come around to new ideas, especially when those ideas challenge what we think of as traditional success and career paths.
And in IshowSpeed's situation, I think his success ultimately spoke for itself. He reached a level of fame and fortune that was undeniable, and that I think played a big role in changing his mom's mind.
There's that saying, seeing is believing, right? Sometimes you need to see the proof, see those positive outcomes to really understand and accept something new.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that success can be a powerful thing. It can help to bridge those gaps between generations, create more understanding between parents and their kids. It can spark conversations, create opportunities for learning and growth on both sides.
It can open up a whole new world. Switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about another part of IShowSpeed's journey that really stood out to me, his evolving relationship with money. He went from having very little to becoming a millionaire pretty much overnight. That's an experience that's got to be completely mind-blowing, especially for a teenager.
Right. It's this sudden, massive change. It's exciting, but it can be overwhelming too. And it's really interesting to see how he navigated those early days of having all that wealth.
What struck me was that he wasn't immediately drawn to all the extravagant stuff. He didn't rush out to buy fancy cars or designer clothes. I mean, remember, his very first major purchase was a house for his mom.
Yeah. That really says a lot about his character and his priorities. It shows a deep sense of gratitude, recognizing those sacrifices that others made to support him. He clearly gets the importance of family, providing a safe and stable home for his loved ones.
It's so refreshing, isn't it? Especially compared to all those stories you hear about young celebrities who get caught up in that whirlwind of spending and living these lavish lifestyles. IShowSpeed's actions, I think they show a maturity and a sense of being grounded that's really admirable and inspiring.
Absolutely. It suggests that he sees wealth as something more than just material things. He's thinking about building a foundation of security and well-being, for himself and those he cares about.
Yeah, it's a much bigger picture. And, he did eventually buy himself a Lamborghini and another car. But even those purchases, it feels like he was approaching them more from a place of exploration than just wanting to indulge.
It's like he was experimenting. And then he tells that story about the $50,000 chain that he bought and just never wears. He considers it a waste now. It's almost like he was testing the waters with material possessions, trying to figure out what would actually make him happy.
Yeah. Something a lot of us can relate to, right? Even if we're not dealing with that level of money.
Mhm.
I mean, we all go through periods of wondering what's really important, what will bring us true happiness and contentment.
It's part of being human. And for IShowSpeed, it seems like he found that realization in using his money to positively impact other people's lives.
He shifted his focus. Instead of acquiring things for himself, he started using his money to help those in need. Remember how he talks about carrying cash just to give people who are struggling?
Yeah.
And then that story about the man in Michigan that he helped buy food for his daughter. Incredibly moving.
Incredibly moving. That story really hit me too. It shows a genuine empathy, and this desire to use his platform and all the resources he has to make a real difference in the world. And that leads to a really interesting question, I think. How do you think he manages that desire to give back with the need to be responsible with his finances?
That's a great question. He does mention that his team encourages him to think about saving and investing, so it seems like he's aware of the importance of planning for the future, being smart with his money.
Right. It's a common challenge for anyone who comes into a lot of money all of a sudden, especially when you're young. You have that urge to enjoy it, spend it, but also that understanding that real financial security, it takes careful management and planning.
It's finding that balance.
Yeah.
And it seems like IShowSpeed is working on that, trying to enjoy his success, but also use his wealth in a responsible way to help others.
It's a journey, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how his approach to giving back develops as he gets older and has more experience navigating all the ins and outs of managing wealth.
Yeah, it's a process. I think his story serves as a great reminder that success isn't all about the money you have in the bank. It's about using what you have wisely, making a positive impact on those around you, and finding that fulfillment that comes from doing something good, something bigger than yourself.
It's about living your values. And that includes staying true to yourself, even when you're faced with all those temptations and pressures that come with sudden fame and fortune. IShowSpeed's story reminds us that you can achieve incredible things while also remaining grounded and committed to making a difference.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears again, I think we need to talk about another part of IShowSpeed's story that's really compelling, his dedication to streaming itself. Even with all the fame and money, you can tell he's still incredibly passionate about what he does and always trying to get better.
You can feel that work ethic and the fact that he truly loves it. It's not just about the money or the views for him. He genuinely enjoys the creative side of it and connecting with his viewers.
He even talks about wanting to perfect streaming, which shows a real desire to push the boundaries,
Yeah.
to see what's possible in the world of online content creation.
It's that kind of drive and passion that separates those who have short-lived success from those who build something that lasts. His commitment, it suggests he has a long-term vision, something that goes beyond just chasing trends on the internet.
It's inspiring to see. Someone who's achieved so much but still wants to learn and grow, to get better at what he does. He's not complacent. He's always looking for new ways to engage his audience and make his content better and better.
And that's such a good lesson for all of us, no matter what we do. Success isn't some finish line. It's a journey. It's about constantly learning and growing and changing.
It's about that ongoing evolution. And IShowSpeed is definitely on that journey. His enthusiasm is contagious. I think it inspires his viewers to go after their own dreams with the same level of commitment.
He's not just entertaining them. He's showing them that they can do it too, that they can believe in themselves and chase those aspirations. And that's a pretty powerful legacy to leave.
Totally. Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something we talked about earlier. His mom and how she eventually accepted his career choice. It's such a great example of how perspectives can shift and change over time.
Right. It shows how important it is to be patient, to really try to understand each other and keep those lines of communication open within families. Even when there are disagreements, even when you don't see eye to eye, it's crucial to keep talking and be open to the possibility that people's views might change.
In his mom's case, seeing his success was a big part of that. She saw the positive results of all his hard work and dedication. I think that helped her overcome those initial doubts.
Yeah, sometimes our actions speak louder than words. By showing his commitment and the positive impact he could make, he was able to connect with his mom on a deeper level,
Right.
bridge that gap between their generations and earn her support.
It's a beautiful thing. It makes me think about something. Throughout all of this, what do you think it is about IShowSpeed's story that really resonates with people? What makes him different from all the other successful YouTubers and streamers out there?
I think it's his authenticity. He's not afraid to just be himself, flaws and all. He talks about his struggles, his insecurities, but also his victories. He's real.
He's open with his emotions.
Yeah.
whether it's joy, frustration, or those moments when he feels vulnerable. And that makes him feel so genuine, so relatable.
People see him as a real person, not just some character he's playing for the camera, and that's incredibly powerful.
It's humanizing. It lets people connect with him on a different level. They see themselves in his experiences. They feel inspired by his journey.
He's not just entertaining them, he's creating a space where people feel seen, heard, understood.
It's about community, and that's something special.
Yeah.
Now, as we get ready to move on to the last part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you think listeners should keep in mind?
I think it's important to remember that IShowSpeed's story is still unfolding. He's young, he's learning and growing all the time.
He's accomplished incredible things, but this is just the beginning.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting to watch, right?
Definitely. We've seen his amazing rise to success, explored his family, his changing relationship with money, and giving back, his incredible dedication to what he does.
But there's still so much more to discover. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into his content, how he's impacted the world of streaming, and that unique connection he has with his fans.
So stay tuned, because the journey of IShowSpeed continues. We can't wait to explore the next chapter with you. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It's amazing how much we've already covered, from IShowSpeed's early days as a streamer to his incredible rise to fame and fortune.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it? Exploring his family relationships, how his views on money have changed, and that unwavering dedication to his craft.
It really has. But as we head into this final part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what parts of IShowSpeed's story have stood out to you the most? What's really resonated?
I think it's how his story really reflects the whole idea of success in this digital age. We hear so much about these overnight sensations, but IShowSpeed's journey, it highlights the importance of sticking with it, being able to adapt, and building those genuine connections with your audience.
It's not just about those viral moments or getting millions of views, right? It's about building something real, something that lasts.
Exactly. And I think that's reflected in his content, too. He's not just creating videos for entertainment. He's building a community, sharing his personality, and engaging with his viewers on a personal level.
There's that realness, that authenticity that just shines through. He's not trying to be someone he's not trying to fit into some mold of what a successful streamer should be. He's just being himself, and that's so relatable.
And that relatability, I think that's a big part of why he's so successful. People connect with his energy, his humor, his willingness to be open and vulnerable.
He's not afraid to show his flaws. Those moments of frustration, the times when he's not sure of himself, it makes him human. It makes him endearing.
It does. And it sets him apart from a lot of other content creators who present this really polished, perfect image of themselves online.
Right. It's like they're always on. But with IShowSpeed, there's that willingness to be real, to let his guard down. And that builds trust and connection with his audience.
It makes them feel like they're part of something, like they're connecting with a friend, someone they can relate to and learn from.
Now, speaking of learning, I keep thinking about IShowSpeed's changing relationship with money.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey to watch, going from someone who wasn't initially focused on material things to a multimillionaire who's now navigating the complexities of wealth.
I mean, remember how his first big purchase was that house for his mom? It says so much about his values, his priorities, and that deep connection to his family.
It shows real maturity. I mean, he could easily fallen into that trap of spending it all on himself, buying all those flashy things. But he chose to invest in something meaningful.
And even when he did buy those luxury items like the Lamborghini, it felt like he was approaching it more as an exploration, trying to understand what wealth really meant to him.
It's something that a lot of us struggle with, It doesn't matter how much money you have. We're constantly being told what we should want, how we should spend our money.
In IShowSpeed's story, it reminds us to step back and think about what's truly important. What brings us real happiness, real fulfillment.
And for him, it seems like that fulfillment comes from using his resources to help others. His generosity, his desire to make a difference in people's lives, it's really admirable.
He's not just accumulating wealth. He's using it to try to make the world a better place.
And that's a powerful message, especially for his younger viewers. He's showing them that success is about more than just personal gain. It's about giving back, lifting others up.
It's about leaving the world a little bit better than you found it.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the remarkable journey of IShowSpeed, I'm left feeling really optimistic.
Me too. His story is inspiring. It reminds us of the power of authenticity, of hard work, and that genuine human connection.
He's already accomplished so much, but his journey is just getting started.
And that's what makes it so captivating. He's always growing, learning, pushing the limits.
His story reminds us that success is not just one thing. It's not about the fame or the fortune. It's about finding your passion, using your influence to do good, and most importantly, being true to yourself.
It's a story that resonates with all of us, I think. Anyone who's ever had a dream, anyone who's wanted to challenge the norm, anyone who's wanted to make a difference.
IShowSpeed's story shows that it's possible. And as he continues to grow and evolve, we can't wait to see what he does next.
This deep dive has been a real exploration, a fascinating look into his journey so far. And we hope you'll keep following along with IShowSpeed's story as it unfolds.
There's so much more to discover, so much to learn from, and so much to be inspired by. Until next time, keep diving deep and stay